Half measures is what I worry about, not getting completely out of Afghanistan. Half measures that were the same kind that took place under Rumsfeld and Casey that lead to failure over time and an erosion of American public support.
But half measures may be where this ends up. Somewhere between McChrystal and Pelosi may be where Obama lands.
And nothing like a Rumsfeld reference to make things really interesting on Afghanistan. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian today in New York.
And I'm Rick Klein in Washington.
Each weekday, we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And of course, we bring you the intellectual sustenance you need before lunch, but we can keep that great feeling going all day long. It's twitter.com/The Note. Just let us know what you think.
Excellent. Rick, kick us off. Where does your top line today?
Middle ground. All indications that President Obama is looking for an approach somewhere between Joe Biden's and Stan McChrystal's. But is this, David, going to be the kind of approach that everyone ends up hating just a little bit? We know that there are going to be critics on either side, and he's going to have to find more allies in the Republican Party, including Senator John McCain, who we heard from a moment ago, to try to make a policy that's anything other than Joe Biden's work.
The president will be back in the Situation Room today for a meeting that's going to focus on the Pakistan side of this. Up next, warning sign. Democrats, beware. There's a new Gallup poll out today. It shows a generic congressional ballot for 2010. Would you rather to vote for the Democrat or Republican in your district next year is what it asks. Basically tied between the parties, Rick. 46% Democrats, 44% Republicans. We haven't seen it this close in several cycles, obviously. But the key are these independents. Unbelievably, in my mind right now, is to see just how much the Republicans are winning these independents right now, 45% to 36%.
A massive shift, and at the same time, there is an AP poll out that has a first bump up in President Obama's approval rating, but healthcare is just where it was in July, which of course is before the terrible summer that they had and the efforts to try to sell the healthcare plan all over again. Rangel. House Republicans are bringing a resolution onto the House floor to once again put Democrats on the spot over Charlie Rangel. Of course, he has well-documented woes regarding his finances. Democrats are going to defeat this, David. It's not even going to be close, but they're going to continue to have to be put on the record to defend a Ways and Means chairman who's had many, many problems with his own taxes.
The guy who's in charge of writing the tax law. That's never a good thing. T-Paw to Iowa. That is our final top line today. Some 2012 politics. Governor Tim Pawlenty of Minnesota going to head south over the border to Iowa. Of course, that's the location of the first caucuses. It's a politically critical state. Some of his potential opponents, Mike Huckabee, Mitt Romney, they have worked Iowa. They were in the race last time. Tim Pawlenty is going to headline the major fall Iowa GOP event there, and he's going to share the stage, Rick, with all those candidates for governor, the Republican candidates for governor, certainly currying some favor with them in Iowa.
That's right. The big question will be whether Mitt Romney wants to make that trip again. A lot of folks think he's just going to skip it and pretend that it doesn't exist after he got beat there last time.
We begin, though, with the political debate of the day up on Capitol Hill, certainly healthcare and Afghanistan. We are joined by the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Chris Van Hollen. He is a Democrat from Maryland. Congressman Van Hollen, thank you very much for being here. I want to begin. I want to begin, if I may, actually, with this poll that just came out, this Gallup poll, and just get your take on what is happening with independents. They were so much a part of the Democratic success in 06 and 08, and now we see on the generic congressional ballot test, sir, that your party's losing them 45% to 36%, 9 points back on independents. Why are you no longer appealing to the middle of the country?
Well, we've seen a lot of polls, and the polls continue to bounce around. They bounced around a lot in August. They continue to bounce around, as was referenced. There's also an AP poll just from the other day that shows the president's popularity jumping back up on health care reform. Support for health care reform now seems to be increasing around the country. So, look, we're going to keep a close eye on these things. I think what's happening is a lot of people have some questions about the way forward, especially on health care. But the same people who have legitimate questions about the best way of doing health care, most of them, the overwhelming majority of them, want to move forward on health care reform. And most of them know that for 8 years, when you had a Republican Congress and a Republican president, they did nothing.
Just a quick follow-up on that. So your belief is this generic congressional ballot test and where the independents are going right now is largely tied to health care?
No, and let me just clarify something. On the polls that I've seen with respect to independents, they have not gone into the Republican column. There are a lot of people have moved into sort of undecided columns as they watch carefully to see how different policies develop. And I think most of the polling to date shows that while people have questions with respect to those policies, they have not gone to the Republicans. I'll have to take a look at this particular poll, but consistently, the polls that I've seen make it clear that while there are a lot of undecided people out there, a lot of people who are waiting to see where we move on particular issues, people consistently in the polls I've seen say that they know Republicans don't have an answer on the big issues like health care, including independence. So let's wait and see how all of this develops.
Congressman Creed Deeds, the Democratic candidate for governor in Virginia, said yesterday that he thinks that the Washington Democrats and the national scene are something of a drag on his campaign. And this leads me kind of into a question we're getting over Twitter, which is how are you going to motivate the base and get them fighting for Democrats like they did last year for President Obama, given the fact that a lot of folks just aren't happy with what they're seeing in Washington?
Well, just in terms of the base and the grassroots activists, all I can say is that this last month and in the month of August at the DCCC, we had a record, an all-time record in terms of small dollar contributions, people coming up and saying, look, I want to join this fight. Because what happened in August when you saw a lot of these town hall meetings with a lot of loud and disruptive voices, at the same time you saw a lot of the grassroots Democrats saying, hey, we are in a big fight. And it got them out of their chairs and out of their off their couches and back to campaigning for these issues. And that was reflected, as I say, in a historic increase in our grassroots contribution. So look, this is going to be a big battle, whether it's on health care, whether it's trying to move our country in a new direction on energy policy, and our guys are up for the fight.
Congressman, I want to talk about that health care legislation for a moment. I want to get your take on what seems to be taking shape right now. In the Finance Committee, they're structuring a bill that in part will be paid for by taxing these so-called Cadillac plans, these very expensive, high-end health care plans. But a lot of your fellow Democrats in the House are concerned that this will sort of ensnare union members and a lot of their health care plans. Is this idea of taxing the Cadillac plans to help pay for coverage for everyone, is that dead in the House of Representatives?
Well, it's certainly not a preferred option. And if we even went down that road, and no one is wanting to push forward on that road right now. If we were to do it, we would not do it in the way the Senate has done it. Because, as you say, it's not just union members. It's a whole lot of working people who, as part of their compensation packages, have negotiated health care benefits. And when you just apply a tax to benefits, an effective tax to benefits, you also create huge inequities between people who are in the same job, but maybe of different ages, depending on where they are within a particular area. So there are inequities that are inevitably created when you go down that road. And so if we take a look at that, and we will explore all the options, we would not design it the way the Senate did, and we certainly wouldn't have it go into effect at the levels the Senate's talking about.
Congressman, as you mentioned, you can go down your own road in the House. What's the holdup? I know you've had more leadership meetings today to try to discuss when you bring forward a package to your fellow Democrats and to the entire House, when can we expect to see a health care bill on the House floor?
Well, you'll see health care on the House floor as soon as we can resolve all the issues with our members.
So what are the major holdups at this point? Well,
there continue to be questions about how we make sure we comply with the President's threshold of $900 billion, that this not cost more than $90 billion a year. As you know, we substantially paid for this through savings found in waste, fraud, and abuse and change in efficiencies within Medicare. But we're also looking for other ways to cover the costs. And we're also looking at cost cutting, in other words, bringing down the overall costs of the package. So we got to do the pay for piece and bring down the costs. And we have narrowed the menu of options considerably. We've made considerable progress on some issues that haven't gotten a whole lot of public attention, but were major divisive issues within the caucus. For example, settling the issue of regional disparities, how we deal with providing for more healthy choices, the whole question of wellness. As you know, that whole issue blew up in the Senate just the other day, right. And we think we've got a resolution to that issue in the House. So big pieces are coming together.
Have you yet seen a draft of the three bills merged together very quickly?
No, and we won't have a draft until we resolve a lot of the differences between those three bills. The public option is an example, how we design it.
Right. Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Democrat of Maryland, chairman of the DCCC. Thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.